Between what we've lived through and what our day jobs demand, we've spent some serious time researching neuroscience. The pattern we keep seeing is the way we think shapes the way we behave. And over time, those behaviors shape our outcomes, often before we even realize we've made a choice.
So in that research of neuroscience, it opened the door to neuroplasticity, habit loops, stress responses, microdecisions, all the brainy stuff that explains why just try harder is a trash strategy. In this lab, we're rewiring habits one experiment at a time.
Welcome to I² Lab. There was this reel I saw of, it was a guy, I think he was, I don't know, he was probably some kind of an influencer, and I've never seen anybody put this out there. He had shown himself walking into his apartment with a box of pizza, and he sat down on the couch and he set the pizza in front of him, and he went to like turn on the TV, and he stopped and he put the remote down, and then he picked up a pad of paper that was sitting next to the pizza box, because one has one on their coffee table apparently, and he went to open the box of pizza. Actually, when he sat down, I didn't say that at first. And then he closed it, picked up the pad of paper, and started to write. And, it was just a music that was over the video. Like, he wasn't talking, and there really wasn't anything else, except at the end, he was like, it was something around, I'll get this wrong because it's been a while since I saw it, but, writing about what I'm thinking or feeling before I eat this is something that I have to do. Something around that, like and then it showed him like putting down the pad of paper and then intentionally opening the box, having one piece, and then, watching TV. Like, so it's not like he didn't sit in front of the TV and eat the pizza, but he also didn't eat the whole pizza without intentionally thinking or putting a moment out there to pause and consider what he's thinking and feeling and actually writing it down. And I was like, that's very interesting. So I've started to do that at night. Like, if I come home and I've had a hard day, like just journaling immediately. And for those who know me, know that I pooed journaling for the longest time, because it kept coming up for me when I first started this last time around the mountain, and it was coming up for a reason, that the universe was telling me you should start writing some stuff down, and you should a podcast would pop up, or I would listen to something and they would talk briefly about journaling, and that this incorporating this habit changed their life, or this part of their morning really turned their whole morning on its head, and it just made them so much more productive. And I kept hearing this, and I was like, ugh, journaling's not going to do anything. But it kept coming up. So and of course, this time, what if this time is different? You have to turn things and do things differently. So I started to turn towards some of the things that were coming up like that. Like, okay, well, I'll try it. Like, I haven't done this before, so I'll just give it a go. This is stupid. And so I bought a spiral bound journal for like $10 on Amazon, and I got a nice pen. I had to have all the things ready before I could certainly launch into this part of the journey that I was like, this is going to be so stupid. And I think everything I was hearing was like, oh, like 20 minutes is a sweet spot. Oh no, 10. Like, you hear all kinds of different things. So I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to do 2 minutes at first. Like, I can muster doing 120 seconds of something. And I dated the top of the page, and, I would just start writing. And at first I would even write things like, this is stupid. I don't think this is going to work. I wouldn't even write full sentences. I would just do bullets, like feeling frustrated, scale isn't moving. Like, I would kind of start with that kind of stuff. But then after a bit of that, things started to come out. More sentences, something meaningful. And then I would look back on it. I tried to look back on what I had written I wanted to do it for 30 days to give it a fair shake. Like, don't just do it for 2 and expect to see, a mountain moved. So I wanted to do it for 30 days to give it a fair shot. And by week 2, I was starting to notice subtle things. I was actually felt like I was more meaningful in what I was writing. Some of it wasn't. Some of it was just like stupid things. But you can look back and you can actually start to dissect what you were thinking or how you were thinking, which is metacognition. It's you know, you can actually look and see the things that, you know, why was I thinking that at the time? Why was I wanting to not have whatever at this event? You know, what was the reason behind it? Or why didn't I want to tell somebody that I did have that at the, you know, the opposite could be true. Like I did have a bite of a cookie, but I didn't want to tell anybody about it. Like what's behind that? Why was I thinking that? What would prevent me from doing that? What would that mean for me if people knew that, you know, those kinds of things. I started to question what I was thinking, and I started to feel a little more grounded maybe, or just like I had my arms around things in a different way, not like in a crazy way. So of course I started to go down the rabbit hole of why this is. Where's the science behind this? What does it what's really happening in the brain, which is what the whole lab is really more geared to, is if we can understand what our brain is doing in these moments, then maybe we can turn and work with it in a different way. So I came across this study as usual.
Real fast, do you feel like it took about 2 weeks for the quality of your journaling to get better? Roughly,
I think that I needed to give it more than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Towards the end of the first week, I added more time. Like the timer, I set my timer for 2 minutes because going into it, I had to tell myself you only have to do 2 minutes.
Okay.
So if I went, it's kind of that same kind of effect. Like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, but I'm going to be there for 10 minutes. Once you're there for 10 minutes, you're probably going to be there for 20.
Gotcha.
Or an hour. You know, like once you've pushed open the door, then like you're there.
Yeah.
But sometimes just walking through the door is the hardest part.
Right.
It was the same concept with journaling for me, that the 2 minutes was me pushing open the door for journaling. So once I got started, the timer would go off, but I still had more to say because my brain was starting to put sense to things and make some organization out of what was finally starting to come out of my head and onto the paper. So I would end up writing for more like 10 minutes. Sometimes it was just 5, sometimes it was 7. You know, it was different kind of what happened the day or how I would process it, but I wouldn't just always stop at the 2 minutes. Because nobody tells me what to do. I have a rebel tendency.
Yeah.
And
which worked to your favor
in this case.
In that aspect,
the 2 minutes got me started, but I decided when I was done. And so I noticed that the quality of what I was writing was more based on the time that I allowed myself, which probably supports the time allotment that I was hearing, that 20 minutes is a sweet spot or 12 minutes is a sweet spot, whatever. I think it could be different for different people.
Because I think that's what journaling does, is it helps take some of the chaos that's going on in your mind, and it helps organize it on
at least in
paper.
a different way.
Yeah. Is what I believe it does.
It actually forces you out of your amygdala and into your prefrontal cortex.
Yes.
Technically, from a brain standpoint.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily slow your brain down.
No.
It can, but like it helps organize some of that chaos.
It helps activate a different part of your brain, which, I mean, your amygdala is threat response. It has no care in the world about long-term decision-making, goal setting.
Gets you into a reward state,
yeah.
essentially. Yeah.
But your prefrontal cortex, if that has been dimmed by your amygdala, then your future thinking, future planning, goal setting, decision-making, social aspects is offline.
Yeah.
Maybe not completely, but it's certainly not driving. It's not in the driver's seat by any means. So that's what I'm sure it does other things in the brain, but
at a very high level.
At a very high level, it's a totally different part of your brain that comes online in a more meaningful way.
Yep. Okay.
That makes sense.
Go
Okay.
into your study. Sorry.
Okay. We'll see if this makes sense. The Pennebaker Effect. So it's the mid-1980s. Psychology research is, well, it's kind of predictable at that time. Therapy is long, expensive, complex. I'm setting the stage here. And then there's the professor at the University of Texas, James Pennebaker, who starts asking a strange question. His question was, what happens if we just let people write about what they're really thinking? That was his question. Not polished writing, not journaling about your day. He means the fight you never processed, the grief you buried, potentially, the thing you don't say out loud. Maybe the donut you ate in the restroom stall and you put the wrapper in the little tampon holder so nobody sees it.
It's very specific.
What?
What?
It's weird. The experiment. So he brings in a group of college students and he splits them into two groups. Group one, they write about what you did today. And group two, you write about your deepest thoughts and feelings about something difficult in your life. Simple, right? No therapy, no feedback, no processing, just 15 to 20 minutes, 4 days in a row. That's it. That's it. The part no one expected. Pennebaker actually didn't expect much. Maybe like a slight mood shift, maybe nothing. But then weeks go by and something strange starts showing up in the data. The students who wrote about their real emotions went to the doctors less often, and they reported lower anxiety and depression. And this is one that was interesting. They had better immune function, not just mentally better, physically different. These students didn't get therapy. They didn't change their diet. They didn't start exercising. They just told the truth on paper and their immune system responded. So what was actually happening? At first, it didn't make sense. Why would writing change the body? Then the insight started to form. People weren't just venting, like you just said. They were organizing chaos, because chaos lives in our head sometimes. When you don't process something, it sits in your mind as fragments, unfinished loops, half stories. And that's, I think we've talked a little bit about ruminating before. Like, it's an unfinished story. Your brain needs to finish that loop. It needs to finalize that. It needs to finish that in some way. So it's replaying it because it's like there's a glitch in the system, and it's trying to figure it out. So your brain keeps returning to it over and over and over again. But then you write, you choose words, create a beginning, middle, and end, assign cause and meaning. You turn emotion noise into structure. So the brain, we've talked about this before, it hates unfinished business. Mm-hmm. It wants that certainty. Journaling is how you can start to close the loop. Then the research explodes. What started as one experiment turns into an entire field. Hundreds of students, different populations, different cultures, and the results keep showing up. Reduced stress, better emotional regulation, stronger immune response, improved performance in some cases, over and over and over and over again. So the deeper realization, as Pennebaker eventually lands on something powerful, the problem isn't just what happens to us, it's what we never fully process. Because suppressing emotions, that takes effort. But I also am someone who feels like if I process my emotion, that takes effort too. And
right.
It does. But I guess I never really thought that not processing them also takes probably just as
even
much.
More.
And even more, yeah.
Right.
It's like holding a beach ball underwater.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
the
like
pressure
you can do it if you have just the right balance, but the pressure builds. You can do it, but it costs you energy every single second. Unprocessed emotions don't disappear, which I think is important. They just become background processing running your life. And how many times have I ruminated over something that I just probably still needed to process? Okay, the twist most people miss. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The benefit didn't come from just writing feelings like I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm angry.
It's just surface level.
I'm jealous.
Right.
Yeah. The real shift happened when people started writing things like, I realized the reason this mattered was because, which is getting into, it's just scratching the surface of thinking about how you're thinking. Because we've talked about this before. The greatest difference between any two people is
the way they think. Yep.
Yes. Not because they had more experience, not because they were smarter than someone, not because of all of the opportunity, they had more opportunity than the other one. Not exactly. It's the way they think. Journaling doesn't work because you express emotions. It works because you start to understand. You start to understand them yourself.
You're making meaning.
You're making meaning for it. You're putting corollaries to it, I think,
right.
in a sense. Like this is like this because this matters because, I mean, after decades of research, this is the essence of the Pennebaker Effect. When you translate experience into language, you gain some modicum of control over it. Not because the past changes, of course, but because your brain finally knows what to do with it. It can like finally close that loop for you. So of all of the times I pooed journaling and I started to notice like, okay, I think there might be something happening to me because of it. And I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I didn't stop either after that first 30 days. I mean, journaling isn't about writing your story. It's about becoming the person. It's about becoming the person who gets to tell it.
Yeah. Because I think I've heard, or something that we have learned through LEAD, the program that we teach, journaling, it's connected to that reticular activating system.
Yes.
Which you've talked about it before in past podcasts, I think through like, I think you talked about it like with a car, like, you know, you buy a white car or whatever, and then all of a sudden you see white cars everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's basically our, like, the filter for our brain. It's what makes,
you see what you're looking for.
Right. It's what your brain pays attention to. And journaling helps because the way I understand it, and I'm not some journaling expert, but the way I would describe it and how I tried to describe it earlier, journaling helps organize the chaos because you have all of these thoughts in your head. And when you sit down to journal, it helps that reticular activating system, the RAS, it helps filter and funnel and organize a lot of those chaotic thoughts. And it draws the things that you want your brain to focus and pay attention to. And when you write them down, you are attention density.
Yeah.
So you're
putting the focus on it.
Putting the attention, the focus on it, and then the emotional intensity as well. So because you're writing about it, it must be emotionally important to you too.
It's bringing you, and maybe we mentioned this already, and we talk about it in multiple times. It's bringing you, it reduces that activity in the amygdala, that emotional threat center, back into that prefrontal cortex,
Absolutely.
which is your thinking brain.
Right.
So you're taking your emotions out of, like you said, out of chaos and putting them into structure. Huge. There's something called the, I think, affect labeling. Affect, AFFECT. It turns feelings into language. Naming emotions turns down their intensity. And we actually just finished a workshop around this
10 minutes ago.
And It sounds dumb, but when you're able
Takes
to,
away their power. Yeah.
yeah, it totally takes away their power. If you're able to know that, okay, I have this uncomfortable feeling. And I know I have this uncomfortable feeling because I found myself reaching for the fridge again and I'm not actually physically hungry. If you can at least buy yourself a couple seconds, instead of going into numb out automatic mode, turn and get curious to what the hell am I reaching for this for? Okay, I'm not physically hungry. That's not it. So, okay, I'm in hedonic hunger. This is what's happening. Okay, there's an uncomfortable feeling. Can I name it? Am I sad? Am I mad? Am I frustrated? Am I jealous? Can I name it? And maybe you need to go to a wheel of emotions too, because you're so out of body experience with your emotions. You're so disconnected that you need something to ground you into. Okay, what is it? What are the words that I need to put here? Because I've turned away from it for so long. I don't even know where to start with it.
Yeah.
So start with the basic ones. What is really going on? Okay, I'm a little mad. I'm a little angry. And then work from there. I'm just irritated or I'm frustrated. If you can name it just at that level, it takes the wind completely out of the sails. And naming out loud, like you can, if you're even by yourself, there's power in going.
It really is.
I'm out loud, voice box activated.
Vocally.
I know it sounds dumb.
We're talking about journaling and writing, but as you're writing to also say it vocally out loud.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated. That's it. That's all you have to say.
There's so much power in that.
Frustrated. I'm jealous. I'm grateful. I'm so overwhelmed with all of the support I'm getting for this one thing that's happening. That can also cause some uncomfortability that you have to navigate through. I mean, a lot of people think that it's only the negative side of the emotions, but we eat just as much out of joy and all of
happiness.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
When you write it, say it out loud. If you're naming the emotion, turns down the intensity. It's like when you just are uncomfortable, it's this black hole that you can't really put your finger on, and it's got a bit of uncertainty to it. I think bringing that level of certainty and shining that spotlight on it totally takes. It's like, when you're scared as a kid because the shadows look so big, and then when you turn on the light, it was just your teddy bear's arm that had, been cast in that shadow in that one way on this one wall, and it was so big. That's what you're doing. You're actually shining the light on it, and it's like, it's not that scary anymore.
Right.
It's not this unsurmountable, uncomfortable feeling that I can't wrap my arms around, because it's just jealousy. And sometimes jealousy can be really cool, because that shows you like what you really want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm jealous of her. Why? Because she got attention in this meeting and got accolades for whatever. I'm just making this up, but
which helps show you what you
should
really want.
Exactly. Jealousy is not something to turn away from. Jealousy is something to turn towards and be like, that's a goal. That's a goal.
Go
exactly. Am I jealous because she got down to her goal weight? Am I jealous because she's got those muscles? Am I jealous because she can lift more than me?
Yep.
There's so many things. I love when
turn
jealousy.
into it.
I really love when jealousy shows up these days, because I'm like, ooh, let's go there. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
It's okay. Be happy for them.
Yeah. But then know that that's tickling that part of me.
Yeah.
That's like, you need to wake up to that.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's your purpose. Maybe that's that's the path you need to at least go. That's where the energy is telling you to go in some way. Maybe that's not your end goal, but that's going to lead you down a path that you should go down in some way.
I do want to hit on perception a little bit too, because you went there a little bit at the beginning. And we also talked this morning before our workshop about perception too. I think our intention and our perception is important too when we're journaling, because our brain is a little bit like, I'll just say Google. Like it's almost like, and journaling is almost like a search term, right? If you type in, I'm inconsistent, it's going to return results that prove that.
Yeah.
If you type in, I follow through, it's going to start highlighting evidence, even small things that you used to ignore, that you do that same life, different search results. So because you have evidence in your life that prove both of those things.
Yeah.
Like it's all in there. So if you journal negative things about yourself, it almost, because of that RAS, that reticular activating system,
Yes.
like
Yes.
it's going to put that focus on that, and it's going to come true.
So you need to be careful.
Be careful. Yes.
Not that you don't get it out there.
Yeah, get it out there, but don't only focus on that, I guess, is my warning. And don't be, you said toxic positivity. Can't talk today. Toxic positivity. Don't do that either, but don't stay in that negative light and hate on yourself either.
I think this is a perfect segue into the last, maybe there's more podcasts we need to do about journaling, but I definitely wanted to hit on, there's a deeper layer of journaling too.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some people won't be ready for this because people are like, I don't even like journaling. Journaling is so stupid anyways. So I'm just, if this part isn't for you, save it for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have started to journal and you've crossed the bridge of, okay, this isn't total bollocks, there's a deeper layer around journaling, around metacognition, which is thinking about your thinking. And we've said this before,
Mm-hmm.
any difference between any two people is the way they think. Why am I only writing about this thing? And so you have a record of it now. So let's say you've journaled for 30 days. That's maybe my challenge to those who are listening to this and are thinking journaling is crap. If you're willing and ready, and I wasn't at first, it took months and lots of times for it to show up in different ways for me to actually turn towards it, to finally then do, oh, God dang it, I will do it for 30 days. Quit showing me this crap, but there was a reason. Do it for 30 days. And then after the 30 days, if you are willing, because you've got to do things differently this time for things to be different. What if this time is different? Go back and look at your journaling and think about your thinking, awareness of your thought patterns, ability to observe and then adjust them. What was maybe, just look at the first week. What was the same pattern that kept coming up? What is the same thing that you write about? Are you always writing about your weight? Maybe there's a pattern there that you're focusing on just your weight, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but if you did another 30 days, could your focus be to find things that have nothing to do with your weight that are also a part of this journey?
Mm-hmm.
So journaling, it's not just about writing your thoughts. It's about seeing your thoughts as something separate from you so that then you can start to objectively turn and maybe see how you're thinking about them, why this could matter for us. Without metacognition, without thinking about how we're thinking, I don't think we can get to that deeper layer.
Agreed.
It's, I'm stressed, I eat. With thinking about your thinking, it could be, I'm thinking I'm stressed and I'm using food to cope. It's I'm doing this and why it matters and because it's just a little bit layered deeper. And that gap is where change actually becomes possible. And you are going to dance with it in different ways and we had this on another podcast, awareness. There's a cost of awareness.
Yeah.
This is going to be the part that can get really uncomfortable for people. That when you really start looking about how you're going to have blind spots and biases that are going to show up if you really do this right. And then if you're able to go down on that different layer, what do I keep thinking about how I'm thinking about your thinking?
And without journaling, there's really no way to be able to go back and reflect on that.
No.
I mean, we don't have
Because then you've got
database.
You've got rose-colored glass.
Especially somebody like me who has an uber positive mind.
Yeah.
You
aren't going to see it objectively.
Mm-mm.
You're going to remember it in the way your brain has
Wants
decided
to remember it.
it.
Absolutely.
Because it will make small adjustments to make sure that you don't look dumb, that you don't look, I mean, it could be more honest than that, but it will still remember it and perceive it in the way that you can.
I love that you brought that up because journaling is almost an optional activity.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put it in that light, it almost becomes, if this time is going to be different, it almost becomes a requirement because there is no other way to objectively look at the way that you think about things.
I know.
Because there is no data record.
No.
There is no way to look back at how I was thinking in week 1, week 2, week 3, month 4, month 5, month 9 of weight loss, of phase 2, of phase 4 of my weight loss journey. There's no way to see my progression in my thought process unless I do write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to improve and change and grow unless I do track it.
It's also a way, if you don't want to actually go to a therapist, this is a way for you to sort through it on your own in some way. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. Some people, absolutely you need to go, and talking with somebody else is like a spa for your mind.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it, but there are some people that find it uncomfortable and they're not willing to go down that path yet. This could be that bridge for you. It's something to potentially work with. There was an Olympian, I don't have her name or anything right now, who was interviewed recently, the Olympics. That kind of it's over.
I think I know what you're going to talk about.
I don't remember her name, so I'm going to screw this up. But there was a reporter that asked her, "Why are you so well?" It almost sounded like she was being rude to her at first. But she was like, "How are you so well spoken or naturally articulate or whatever?" And the Olympian basically started describing how she thinks about her thinking. And she was like, she said she's not well spoken. She said she's well spoken not because she's naturally articulate, but because she journals and then she reflects on her journaling. And then she actually started talking through how she reflects on her journaling. So that's like, it's almost like, this is how I think about how I'm thinking about how I'm thinking. Like it was even another layer deep. So I think a lot of people's heads probably exploded at that moment or didn't even see it for how deep of a thinker she was. But that's how she's able to be such an elite athlete because she wants to get down to that level. This is next level journaling. Mm-hmm. It's not what happened today. And that's where you do need to start. Mm-hmm. But it's what did I write? Why did I think that? What pattern do I see? I mean, that's like you're training yourself to have that awareness, which is not just something you're going to show up with when you start journaling.
To journal about your journaling.
Yes.
To go back.
Yeah. She's not just thinking, she's training herself to observe how she thinks, which is very powerful and very hard to do.
Insight. She's inciting insight.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
The problem with most journaling is I think people do just see it as that level 1. And they're like, I don't see how that could do anything for me. Maybe that's where I was at, that I didn't realize that there's actually like a third level. There's like layers, as there is to weight loss. There's like layers to this stuff that we don't realize once you peel back the onion or you summit the next mountain or you chop back the brush that leads you down the next path, however you want to look at it, that level 1 is just emotional dumping. Today totally sucked, or I'm totally frustrated. I'm feeling off. This is where I'm at now. I'm not doing I'm just now starting to probably get to level 2. I'm just like word vomiting and it's not even real sentences. Helpful, But I actually think it does start to help you on some way, but I think it's actually incomplete. And I think I'm about ready to start on this. If I think of it as level 2 is pattern recognition. It's when I notice this keeps happening when I skip meals. I notice this keeps happening on days I don't go to the gym. I notice this keeps happening when I have a hard conversation at work. I notice this doesn't happen if I drink all my water, whatever it is. It's the pattern recognition, and it's being open and curious enough to be able to recognize it. And sometimes you can't. And I think that's when you would go back and look at it. And I think there's like another phase that I'm just at that, maybe starting to scratch the surface on level 2.
Yeah.
It's metacognition. This is where things can really start to really deeply change. Why do I keep justifying this behavior?
That's the key right there. For a lot of us, I feel like.
Yeah.
Why am I here again?
Why am I here again? And we want to get there, but
yeah,
there's layers you got to sift through to get there. Like I said the other day, Mike had looked at my logs. This has been a couple months back, and I had a couple days where I had eaten way too many calories for what we had discussed I should be at. Not where I had before, not like binge level, but it was over amount of calories I should have been. And he just looked at me and he was like, we're better, but we're not there yet. And I was just like, damn it. But I wasn't near this third level of why do I keep justifying that behavior? Maybe it's not why do I keep doing it? Maybe that's the level 2. Like I'm noticing the pattern and I start to say, okay, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep having a 3,500 calorie day when I really should only have 2,200 calories or 2,000 calories or 1,800 calories, wherever I'm at for that? Sometimes he takes me into a little bit of a cut, which it's so weird to say 1,800 calories is a cut.
Yeah.
Especially when I was eating 1,000 calories in weight loss
Feels
mode,
like luxury,
which I do not recommend. Eating that low of calories for that long, that you should, it feels weird to say that, but he was like, we're not there yet. So I have to go to this next level and again, I don't think I'm ever going to solve it. Of course I want to, but can I manage it even in a way that's going to make it even easier for me? So why do I keep justifying this behavior? And I do. I'm like, well, I'm working out, I'm lifting weights. I can have a 3,500 calorie day and not see the scale jump up. And I can. I can't have 2 days like that and not see the scale jump up a little bit. I definitely can't have a week of that. I can't. What story am I telling that lets this continue? And that's where I don't even know if that story is at the conscious level. I think it's hidden for us. It's just below that. It's at the subconscious level for a lot of us. What's the story that's still running? I think that's where some of this journaling can help bring some of that stuff that is just out of your awareness, that it's even happening. The only part that you're aware of is that you feel uncomfortable in some way. Yeah. And it's that level of subconscious story that the journaling can start to bubble up to the surface.
There's something churning. There's something uncomfortable. There's chaos there. You just don't know what it means.
You don't.
Yeah. But if you keep going, if you keep writing.
And you keep digging, you scrape that other layer off just a little bit more. You scrape that residue off.
Keep asking
even
why.
What story and it's okay if it takes a while to get there because some of this shit is so buried from what happened in childhood when I got in trouble because I was on a fishing trip when I was 5 and I didn't take, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. And it was not anything crazy, but for some reason I saw it as a threat in the moment for whatever it was.
Yep.
This is the kind of stuff this is the messy bit. And it's not easy to sift through. So I think, and maybe there's even more levels than this that I don't even know about or see or can think of. But I think that first level is just writing the shit down in your head. It's an emotional dump. And then it starts, okay, what did I write about? What's the pattern here?
Yeah.
What's happening? Am I seeing on the scale what the scale's just, it's just the output. We got to figure out what all the inputs in the system that's producing that. That's just a number.
Yeah.
Have you started journaling? I think you said you were thinking about it.
I did. I started journaling with the 75 intentional, and then I went to Germany and I did not take my journal. And for some reason, they didn't have paper in Germany, so
It's forbidden.
It is. It's forbidden there. And I also couldn't type. My laptop was broken, so
there's something different. There's actually
Yeah.
some science behind typing versus writing.
Yeah.
Too.
I didn't have my journal, so I couldn't journal. I use it as an excuse.
Was that your excuse?
Yeah, it was my excuse. So I stopped, and then when I came back, I started again. So I did get back on it, but I'm getting better. I have a specific it's called the 5-minute journal that I'm using. It's interesting because you have specific things that you have to fill out in the morning, and then in the evening you have different questions that you have to reflect on. So it's nice, but it's very structured in that way. I don't think I'll continue it probably past my 75 intentional. I think I'll do more loose journaling.
I just ended up getting a spiral
Yeah.
bound, lined.
Yeah.
And maybe I do one that isn't lined even, because then
Just
I don't have to stay in.
You could draw.
I could. Yeah. There's.
I mean,
which
I don't know.
actually your subconscious mind
Actually works in images.
Images.
So I liked the idea. I've had this journal since COVID. I've had this journal for 6 years now, and I haven't used it, obviously. So I liked the idea of using a structured journal that had questions for me to fill out at first.
Yeah.
I'm already bored with it, obviously. So I think I'll go to something more open and loose, which I think is deeper.
In my VIP group, so there's nightly nerdy facts that I give, and then there's a journal prompt that I have. Sometimes there's a couple journal prompts.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody's using them or not. Sometimes I do. I'm like, I'm totally doing this. Like, it just helps me frame it a different way for the day. And then I'll loosely write. But I do want to touch on the difference between handwriting versus typing, because I think some people could. I like typing because then it's digitized. And then if you wanted to throw it in like an AI to assess the pattern, you could do something like that.
Yeah.
However, there was a time at work where everybody was starting to type their notes in meetings. And I really wanted to be the cool person that typed in meetings. So I tried that for 30 days. I was like, I'm going to give it because I love writing the notes. But I was like the old person in the room that was still writing the notes. So I was like, I'm going to try this. And then what's cool about if you take your notes and you type them, that you can search them, of course.
Yeah.
They're digitized. So there's some benefits to it. However, I couldn't do it after 30 days. The typing, my first assessment without knowing the science behind it was that it distracted me in the moment, that I felt like I was missing things because I was trying to type it out. Where if I'm writing, I'll just write a few words that cues me back into it. But when I'm typing it, I felt like I needed to get it almost verbatim. And then I felt like not only was I distracting myself with the typing, that it was distracting in the room, my clickety clacking. I also found other people who were typing, it was distracting me as well. and then I never did anything with it. I never searched for it digitally.
Nope.
I found that I did it for 30 days. I gave it the old college try. I totally did. And then I was like, screw this. I retain it so much better when I write it. So handwriting, and there is science behind this, guys.
Yep.
Are you checking it out too?
No, I did. I knew a couple of them, but I typed it in just to make sure I got them all. There's actually more than I was aware of.
I know,
so.
we don't have to go in every one of them, but the big ones I noticed, even without having the science to support it, was handwriting. It means deeper brain activation. So when you write by hand, your brain lights up more areas than when you type it. Handwriting activates more brain regions overall. Motor, sensory, memory, language. Some research shows that up to or even more than 13 brain regions versus 10 for typing. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that can mean a lot.
It's full brain engagement.
Full brain.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So forming each letter, controlling pressure and movement, integrating touch, vision, thought. Typing is just same repetitive keystroke over and over. Writing, you get that unique motor experience for every word. Typing is pressing buttons. Writing is thinking with your whole body. So there's something else that it's like when I write it, I also remember it. I remember that word and how it looked on the page, and then I pull it up in a different way. And maybe it just has something to do with the whole sensory thing.
I think it creates stronger neural connections. And I think that's probably what you're talking about there. Because it's learning and memory.
Yeah.
You're remembering, because I'm a visual learner. Well, it's actually, I won't say that because that's actually like debunked, like the
myth
the myth of the learning types. But I don't know, people are going to yell at me now, but like it creates stronger neural connections of the learning and the memory when you like visually see it on the paper, I think is what you're talking about, like the word on the paper, and then you like remember that word.
I don't have to search for it.
Because it's in your mind. You remember it.
Yeah, which makes sense. It makes perfect sense that there's a deeper neural pathway because of everything, your full body that's happening. Writing by hand leads to stronger memory encoding.
Yep.
It improves conceptual understanding as well, not just recall. So you have a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. So write it if you can. Don't. There's a lot more. There's actually a lot more science behind it. Emotional processing, writing has an edge to that over typing. Of course, the sensory feedback. This creates multi-sensory memory encoding, which if you've got that, it just goes deeper. It doesn't mean typing is bad. It's just different.
Typing's faster.
Typing excels speed, volume. You could capture the ideas quickly. You can organize it and search it. And we talked about that already. But
if you want to
really
learn, if you really want to learn it, like and understand it, then maybe handwriting is the way to go.
Yeah. Handwriting's just, it's, if we're talking about this is for a transformation, this is for a deeper understanding, this is for conceptual learning, my suggestion would be for journaling around this inner work that you write it out in some way. That would just be my plug for it. But I wanted to make sure we touched on that before we finished up this one.
You're just justifying why I did not journal when I was in Germany.
What's funny is whenever I travel, I always say I'm just going to get the pad of paper by the desk, but they don't exist anymore in hotel rooms.
No.
They used to. There used to be a pad of paper. Maybe it wasn't by the
phone and the Bible.
The Bible
and the Bible on the phone. But yeah, the Bible's still there and the phone is still there, but the pad of paper and the pen is gone.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to keep doing it after the 75 intentional. I've been
same.
I'm not perfect at it either. I don't think this is about, if you do it every day, great. But if you miss a day, it's not the end of the world. Just pick it back up.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. So I don't know. Anything else you'd say about it?
No, I think it's not about perfection.
No.
That's not what it's about.
No.
I think it
started like that. 30 days, I got to do it 30 days in a row. Yeah.
Well, I even said that when I graded myself on the 75 intentional. I was like, man, that was the one thing I dropped. And in the end, it's, it's just about getting better. And like you said, it's deeper reflection.
Perfect. That's the only thing I don't agree with the 75 hard is like you had to start over.
Right.
It honestly feeds into that all or nothing mindset. And that, it's not healthy for us who are already
all or nothing thinking mindset. Yeah. So I really like the idea that I got from this conversation of, journaling was optional, but really if you really want to take a look at your thought process and you really want to make a change, it's almost required on this. If this time is different, it's almost a requirement to take a look at how you're thinking to really make a lasting change. Until next time, stay curious.
Keep experimenting.